and the homeless man is walking up. Now everybody is like shooing
Like,
and
ooh,
hissing at him
stinky.
practically, like, ew.
Because he's smelly, because he's homeless.
Yeah, they're like plugging their noses, literally. And then he goes on the stage and he takes off the jacket, he takes off the wig, and he's a handsome young congressman. And he's like, I
Oh,
was
no,
on the
he's
mean
hot.
streets. Nobody was nice to me.
Nobody liked
One
me.
man gave me this jacket, and that was it. And I was out there for 3 months, and everyone claps. And I'm like, okay, hun. One, what was the point of this? Two, what are you, like, to find out what? That being homeless sucks? We know. Hi, Rogue.
Hi, Zax.
Hi, Carina.
Hey, Zax. Hi, Rogue.
Hey, Carina.
We're continuing Lindsay Lohan Month with one of my favorites, which I probably said for all of them, but Get a Clue.
Can't go wrong with this movie.
Honestly.
We were talking about it a little bit before, and I don't feel like a lot of the modern DCOM movies really go as crazy as Get a Clue went.
It gets wild.
Like, it gave me whiplash at several points.
There's actual crime in Get a Clue, which you cannot say about probably any other DCOM.
That's not true.
No.
There's definitely
Well,
been actual crimes in other DCOMs. Maybe not any of the new ones. I don't know.
I guess no fancy adult crimes though, like tax fraud, embezzlement, murder,
Identity theft.
So, I would say one thing when you first get into Get a Clue, I love that they made a song called Get a
my
Clue.
gosh. Can I just
Wow.
say, this song is like, just like blasts me back to when I was probably about 10 years old.
It's the most like early 2000s song I have heard in quite a while.
It's the sound of the early 2000s.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like if you have a chance, you should seriously go look at the Get a Clue theme song and just listen
It's
to it for
so
yourself.
fun
Or just the
fact.
soundtrack in general.
Fun fact,
And so,
the band that did the song was a Canadian pop band called Prozac, but they changed the name as it was credited in the movie to Simon and Milo because they didn't want it associated with the drug.
oh, that's
I'm
Disney.
glad they're representing my country. Thank you, Prozac.
Shout out.
Now there's a soundbite of me saying, thank you, Prozac.
So like then they do that whole like little Clueless-esque, I mean not really, but it made me think of Clueless, how they have to show each other what they're gonna wear to school that day.
This is me, like, with my friends on FaceTime, like, trying to decide what we're gonna wear to the club. Except this is them, and they're in 8th grade, because they're 13.
Both the outfits that they choose are, I know it's because of the times, but like those outfits are insane. Can you like really imagine going to school in either of those get-ups?
Every outfit
Like-
that Lindsay Lohan and Brenda Song, who I forgot was in this movie, every fit that they wear is like an absolute look.
Right?
I mean, at one point she's wearing it and like, I'm pretty sure she like doesn't even really leave the house that day. And it's just like,
just gets
"Hun,
ready."
You didn't need this to get this done up to walk from your room to the living room back to your room. Question. Am I the only one? This school is supposed to be like a super wealthy school, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because like Jack, who we meet later, is a scholarship kid.
Because he's smart.
The school, let me put this nicely, looks kind of grimy to me for like a rich kid school.
Yeah, but it's New
Like-
York.
I feel like you could still get posh in
they
New
have, like,
York, no?
Fancy art schools in New York.
Okay, well, it's no Gossip Girl. They didn't have, like, that budget to, like, fix up the school.
No, it was not a Gossip Girl.
Oh, really quick before we continue further, just because I'm looking at the notes, I took some screenshots of, like, the scene where they're talking about what they're going to wear. So in one shot, there's Lindsay Lohan in her webcam, even though there's no webcam on the computer. And I know this because early 2000s, you had to get a webcam attachment for your computer. So she's talking to her friend. So it's her, and then it cuts to Brenda's song, and then it cuts back, and there's someone's foot in the corner of the screen. I'm like, who is this? And then when it switches back, the foot isn't there anymore. So I think like the director or like somebody was like there helping out. Yeah. There's a whole foot with like a sock and a pant leg just hanging out in there.
I gotta say,
like to help.
You bring up the webcam thing just as like a, I don't know, foreshadowing. The technology in this movie is insane.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the technology, the goggles that her sister is wearing at the breakfast table.
Oh yes, those are.
I had those when I was little, and we were cleaning out our basement, and we found them, and I'm like, oh my god, get a clue.
Oh my gosh.
Also, I do like the breakfast scene because in the breakfast scene, we finally get a mother who's good at a decom.
Who's alive.
Yeah, she's
like,
alive and thriving. She's a businesswoman, but she's just like, I'm not going to be in this movie, see ya, and she leaves.
That is one thing I will say. I like that, like, she basically does have two workaholic parents, but they're not workaholic. It's just like, I have work to do, but when I come home, I'm all yours, kid.
Yeah.
I just go away a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's a nice, like, relationship dynamic. It's like, oh, man, Mom, you never pay attention to me. You're always doing business stuff. Tess from Camp Rock. But it's like, yeah, I get it. Mom's got to work. How else are we going to afford this beautiful penthouse apartment in downtown New York?
Yeah. And so, there's that. We still don't see a lot of the parents in this movie, but that's okay, because, like...
This is not a parent movie.
This is about
they would have only held us back, honestly.
The parents are there. When the parents are in scenes, though, they are quite helpful.
Yes. They give good advice.
We will get into that.
So Jack is the editor of the school newspaper, and him and Lindsay Lohan, have a little bit of a rivalry deal going on. Did you guys notice who Jack was?
Should I know who he is? Yeah. I looked him up. His name is Bug.
He
or that's a stage
is Alfalfa.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that's Alfalfa?
Yep, all grown up.
Wow.
I wrote, my note says Alfalfa glow up, though.
I can't believe that's Alfalfa. That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what he's doing now. Does he do movies, or is he like just living his life?
Every time I watch Get a Clue, I look him up, and I haven't seen anything new, really.
Wait, how old is he? He looks good now. Wait, no, that's not Alfalfa. That's not Alfalfa. Do you know who that is, though?
Who?
Wait, hold. I'm puzzled.
Wait, what are you doing?
Okay, is this Alfalfa? Because I saw a picture of him next to like the little like snooty rich kid in Little Rascals, and he's like, I'm like, that looks like you, but no, guess that is Alfalfa. The more I look at it.
Yeah. Okay.
He's an American Pie.
So, did you guys read this newspaper growing up?
Only when we had school assignments that were like, find an article in the newspaper and write about it.
Me too.
No, I get it. Like, we weren't really like we were younger than Lindsay, so that's fine. It's just like, I guess, okay,
she's refined.
So her article that we find out Jack rejected to get on the school newspaper, so she submitted it to a real newspaper, and they ran the story. They ran the story about, well, we'll get into what the story was in a minute, but when she goes to school, everybody stops and is like, great article, Lexi, you made it.
Congratulations. And she's
But,
like, it was nothing, thank you.
I feel like I wouldn't have read it. I feel like I would have been like, why are we all looking at her? And then they'd be like, oh, her article went into the newspaper. I'd be like, cool for her. That's.
Do you think maybe like their
did.
parents were
That's what I was
like,
thinking.
no, wait, well then how would the parents like, oh, here's this name I recognize, one of your school classmates?
I mean, I guess it could also, because like, if it happened like, if we saw them go into homeroom and then like the principal announced like, hey, congrats to Lexi, her article made it to the newspaper, that like, okay. I don't think
sense.
that we, yeah, but I don't think we all, especially although she has a family breakfast before school, people serve them food before
she
school.
has
What time did they wake up? What time does school start? How far is the drive?
Their family has help. She's got money.
So I don't think everybody is like sitting down while their dad reads the newspaper and like catch up on the affairs of it all. Which of you guys would like to tell us what this article Lexi wrote was about?
This
Carina should do
TMZ
it.
article. I should do it or you should do it?
You should do it.
Okay, well, I'll do it. Okay, so the two teachers literally forgot their names. Hold on. It's
Dawson,
Miss
is
Dawson
Lady
and
Walker,
Mr.
yeah.
Mr. Walker.
Walker.
Right, okay. So Miss Dawson and Mr. Walker are a thing. So like they're like sneaking around school and they're like, I love you. Like that sort of thing, right? Guess that's not allowed because of like the school board and everything. But they're like, oh my God, nobody can know about our secret love affair. And then Lexi's like, ha, bet. And she took a picture of it and she wrote an article about that and sent it and submitted it to the newspaper. And the newspaper is like, yes, I love this. Thank you, random 8th grade student from this school. We will run this story.
This is hard-hitting news.
Yes, this is hard-hitting, world-changing news.
And it's weird too because like at one point they even say something to the effect of like hundreds of kids submitted to get into the junior column, but this made it. Like
This
no
made
girl, like no one saw. I don't know.
Either like the articles that
I
the
don't know.
children were submitting were trash, or like the editors really need a better vetting process.
Like they were just like, yeah, we got it, run it, let's go.
Well, like her dad's also a journalist, isn't he? So do you
Yeah.
think like they just connected it? It's like, oh, this is,
think
I don't
it
remember
was
what the dad's name is, but like, oh, this is Bill's kid. Oh, we want to like be on good terms with him. So run her story.
But it wasn't his paper. It wasn't his paper.
Yeah, but it's
'cause
his
they
daughter's
mentioned, like,
paper.
one day you'll be in my paper.
Yeah. So like he has no pull.
They
I
even
guess.
mentioned that they were like competitors.
Yeah, he is. So yeah. So this week, or okay, how long do you think this movie takes place over? Because it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 2 days.
We should have counted like the outfit changes so then we'd know.
I think they changed.
I don't
in the
think
middle
that
of the
would
day,
help.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say a week to be safe.
Okay. So it's career week at school, and we get to see a CIA agent who drops in, and she, like, part of career day is like you show like what. So you might think this job is easy, but it takes this, this, and this. So but also it's a cool job because of this, this, and this. She just spirals into how lonely her job is and how she barely even, her cat doesn't even look at her anymore. And like all this stuff. And like
my
everyone
husband
like
left me.
Lindsay's face was a mood because I was recoiling.
Do you think that this was like the type of career day where it's like, I'm going to bring in my parents, this is what they do? Or is it just like you bring in someone? Like, does the teacher find these people? Or is it like because I had to do an assignment when I was a TA in school where you had to bring in like a mentor of yours. Some people brought their I brought in my improv coach because he was best friends with my teacher. But some people brought in their parents. And was it that type of situation where it was your parent or somebody you knew, or is it just she's like, let me go through my phone book?
Sometimes the teachers bring in people to talk. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like at least it might be like a little bit of both, but I do think that the CIA agent was Miss Dawson's friend.
Okay. Miss Dawson's got some fun friends then, because one of her other friends was a taxidermist. And she's like, I don't see why this would be a bad idea, bringing a taxidermist in front of a bunch of 8th grade students.
I mean, it's still a career.
It's a career, and I'm like, if you do that, that's cool. Taxidermy. Wow, love speaking English. I'm not even gonna finish that joke.
So we meet Jack, and he's a bit of a mansplainer.
A bit.
Bit. He goes up to her and he compares her to a gossip columnist, and she's like, no, I'm a fact-hitting journalist. And then he's like, why don't you take a seat? And he pulls his suspenders and he talks to the men reporters.
Tips his fedora.
Yeah.
Milady.
One thing that was so weird, I guess she's the advice column, that's what she does for the school paper. And Brenda Song does the fashion part. So they're sitting at their... They also don't work with anybody else. They just sit by themselves over there while everybody else is going to Jack and talking amongst themselves. It's over here there's a real newspaper. These students are getting to work. They're trying to make the cut. Brenda Song over here filing her nails while Lindsay's just talking and just well, she should get a handbag and tell her friend how she feels.
Oh, speaking
Done.
of, the whole thing that Lexi is doing is she's running an advice column, but it's the type of advice column where it's dear this person, and I can't remember what the name is, oh, dear Alice or something like that. I'm having a problem, please help me. The point of those in school newspapers is the advice giver is supposed to be anonymous, so you're not getting swarmed in the hallways please help me. But Lexi's just no, it's me, hey everyone.
Dear Lexi, yeah.
Yeah. XOXO gossip girl, it's me.
Yeah, but Jack's face watching them talk about it, he was especially, I don't remember if the reader established if it was 2 girls, a boy and a girl, 2 boys, who the best friends in question were. Did it?
I don't want to generalize, but it sounded like a girl problem. It was my friend and I had a fight. We made up, but I'm still upset about what she said. I'm if there's one thing I've learned about boys, I don't, again, not to generalize, but this is just what I've picked up on. They don't do that.
Yeah.
With girls, it's either we're petty or we're I don't want to hurt your feelings by telling you I'm upset. And this is me because I do that.
So now, if you were these teachers, you're Mr. Walker and Mrs. Dawson, and now you come to school and these 2 other teachers that we don't really hear much about are going up to you and mad at you because of this article, and your job is potentially on the line, and then everything that goes down with Mr. Walker. What are your feelings about Lexi? She wrote this article and put your business all over town.
She should have just sat there and ate her food. She should have stayed out of this.
And I guess this is something any movie with journalism just always makes me feel reporters are bad people.
Yeah.
I've never I never feel I never root for them. It's always stay in your lane, reporter.
Yeah.
Let them do what they want. I mean, unless
Nobody
they're
gets
like
it right. You know, actually, you know what? Spotlight gets it right.
There are movies and stuff that get it right, but it's only because, like, normally if something so inconsequential that it's like, why is this news? Which I guess is real life, but it's like the people don't need to know this. Who cares? It's kind of
like
I think we talked about this a little bit before. First of all, why does it matter? Why was the whole school like blowing up about these two teachers having a relationship when it's... I'm sure there's teachers at that school that are married. I know that my high school...
at my... Like, when I was in middle school, my homeroom teacher was married to my English teacher, and it was just like, nobody cared. It was just like, sometimes she brought him lunch, and it was like... Cute. It wasn't even cute. It was just like, you forgot your lunch. Okay, I'm going to continue reading my book.
But that's cute.
It's kind of just like a case to me, like, when you're like in 4th grade and you see a teacher outside of school and you're just thinking, oh, they live outside of the school. They have lives.
Your teacher's like, I'm just trying to buy eggs.
I remember I only saw a teacher out of school one time, and I was in kindergarten, so I didn't even realize that was like an issue yet. Like, I should have been like at least in like the 8th grade or something. But we went, I guess it was like a little, like, it was at a park, but they like had booths set up, but I don't feel like it was a fair or a farmer's market. I don't know what this event was.
So,
but there was face painting. I guess. I don't know. But anyway, my teacher happened to be there with her husband, and she was wearing a denim jacket, and I just remembered thinking, like, she wears that in class. It's her.
I've seen...
You would think that now.
I've seen kids, like I teach swimming lessons, so we'll see them, like, out in the world sometimes, and they're very puzzled, and they're usually with their parents, so they're like, oh, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, it's good, and then I'll say hi to the kids, and one kid who, like, I babysit now, first time he saw me out in public, he looks at me, and he's like, you're not at the swimming pool. I'm like, yeah, I don't live there.
You're supposed to be a mermaid.
What do you mean you don't? I'm like... Granted, he was like 3, so I'm like, okay, like, I get it. This is confusing, but, like, I don't live there. I exist outside of your vision of what I do in the world.
But yeah, that's kind of like the same idea, I feel like. Yeah. Even though I also feel like they should be old enough to handle the fact that their teachers might have relationships.
Yeah. So... more on Lexi ruining these innocent people's lives. So, the next day, Mr. Walker doesn't come to school.
Oh my god.
And he's declared missing.
In the matter of, like, 12 hours.
I mean, to be fair, they do find his car at the bottom of a lake.
That is the only thing that is sus. So.
Yeah.
It's a little suspicious.
But, I mean, although it is technically a myth, like, there's no rule that says you have to wait 24 hours to report somebody missing.
Well, when they're an adult, that's, like, usually, like, what police do. They're like, has it been 24 hours? And you're like, no, well, but, like, it's a little suspicious. And they're like, come back later.
Even if it's been more than... I watch enough Dateline. I watch plenty of Dateline. It can be, like, 72 hours, and you try to report someone missing, and they're like, well, they're an adult, so they could have just left.
Yeah,
and
they're allowed to go missing. I'm like, this is my mom, though. This seems like an issue. They're like, was she living a high-risk lifestyle? Like, no, my mom plays bingo on Sunday. Do your job, police officers. I'm sorry, this is getting too political. I'm sorry.
I feel a little bit betrayed though, because I specifically remember watching this like video where it's like police officer watches movies with police officers, one of those, and he like looks at the camera and he's like, seriously, this is not true. If someone's missing, you do not have to wait 24 hours. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good to know. But now I'm hearing that that's all a big fib.
I mean, you don't have to, but they also might not do anything. So.
I don't want to criticize the police on your YouTube channel. But if you know, kidding.
I think we need to add thinly veiled jabs at police onto the bingo board.
It's not even thinly veiled. It's just Carina's anti-cop narrative.
Which is pretty much just like becoming one of the central themes of Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
And just don't get ready for I Know Who Killed Me at the end of the month.
So, this detective is super intense.
You can tell because he has a mustache.
A very big mustache.
It's a very awful mustache.
Purposely awful, and I hate that they did that.
Like, they made it, the fact that it was like part of his arc. It was part of his journey. So, okay.
I want to focus on the mustache really quick and compare this to another good mustache arc. You both know who I'm going to bring up.
Yep, I know.
So just imagine if Tom Cruise looked at Henry Cavill's character in MI6 and was like, you'd look better without a mustache. And then like his character comes in later, no mustache. And then Tom Cruise is like, yeah, I thought so.
And then Jason Momoa comes up from behind them both and gives them a big hug. So he's super intense and he's like, Lexi, you wrote an article about your teacher's canoodling. Where is he?
She's like, I don't know, I'm 13. I was on Club Penguin last night. What makes you think I know where he is?
So, like, Lexi, hun, she immediately is like, you know what, though? I did see her and Dawson get into a fight, and she was like, you're not going to get away with this. And she had mad, crazy eyes and whatnot. So, like, you should probably go talk to her. Hun, you just made your teacher a suspect for murder.
She snitched.
She named names.
Oh my god. So then
hold on before we move on. So something that you need to do if you're like a police officer or a detective interviewing a minor, you need to have like a parent or a legal guardian or at the very least a social worker present because they're a minor. This detective did none of that and just said, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something they do in movies, but usually someone else intervenes. It's weird, though, because, like, she has rich parents. Like, I don't know how much the journalist dad makes. I mean, decent. But, like, the mom,
they have
like,
enough money to hire help.
Yeah.
Their apartment has stairs.
The mom is, like, crazy into the business world, so even if she was, like, I feel like she's important enough that it should have been one of those scenes where she like barges in and is like, hey, do you know who I am? You don't interrogate my daughter about murder without me present.
Yeah, but then the mom would have to come back for another day of filming, and clearly they could only get her for that one day. That's why she's not in the movie.
She was a very high in demand mom.
Yeah. Who is that actress anyways? Do we know?
Not off the top of my head.
I have the Wikipedia page open.
12 seconds later.
Can you find her on the Wikipedia page?
She's uncredited. She's like, I don't want to be in this movie.
3 days later.
Get a clip cast.
1 eternity later.
You know what? It's probably not that important. She's probably not that big of an actress.
This is so sad.
This is our own mystery.
Wow, I don't think. Yeah, okay. Maybe she was just like a writer who also played the mom because they were like, let's just get somebody.
Maybe like the actress who was gonna play the mom dropped out at the last second, and they're like, okay, we need somebody, and like one of the boom mic girls was like, I'll do it.
So, okay. So then she gets in with Jack, and they're both like, where's our teacher? We need to get to the bottom of this. And they agree to join forces, even though he's a mansplainer and she's a rich girl. And
The dynamic
That's
duo.
dichotomy, yeah.
the tale as old as time.
I don't know the rest of the song. I'm not going to try to sing it.
Mansplainer rich girl.
Oh, man. You know what? I
So-
feel that is like a dynamic in young people movies. Like, I'm a girl and I'm rich. I'm a boy and I have to mansplain everything to this dumb girl.
But in the end, she makes me better.
Yeah. Or she finds out, oh, wait, mansplainer, you're really not that bad.
It doesn't
You don't
matter that you
mansplain
make
all
me
the
second.
time.
Yeah, and then he probably negs her.
It's okay that you make me second guess everything I ever felt. I love you.
Yeah. Ooh, gross.
Okay. So, do we give Bad Dad Award to his
Yes.
approach to his daughter? Okay, so
I just don't
Lexi's like,
understand.
Lexi's like, Dad, my teacher's missing, and like this A, B, and
Well,
C.
okay.
This is all evidence.
She's like, hypothetically.
Well, let's just
Hi-
say, give him credit for one thing. He does tell her first. He's like, I have some bad news. Your teacher's missing. And he's very sympathetic. But then she gets crazy. And he, in turn, gets crazy.
And so she's like, they're talking about it, and at first he's like, I don't want you anywhere near this. This is much too dangerous for you.
No,
But-
he doesn't say that first.
He
There's
doesn't
like
say
the
it
last-
first?
Right, he
That's the
says
last
it
thing he
after.
says.
Okay. Well, he's like, okay, so he says, like, journalism and being a detective are basically the same thing. Knowing full well that this girl is on her way to being a journalist.
Well, because she
And then-
asks a question that leads him there. Because she's like, I want to know more about it, and what do you do to find out more information? And he's like, well, being a good reporter and being a detective are basically the same thing.
No, they're not.
And then he gives her all these ideas. This is how you are a great reporter and a good detective. And then after he says all that, he says, but I don't want you anywhere near this. It's too dangerous and it's not your job. And she's like, okay, Dad.
And then she goes off screen like, haha,
She's like, why
just
did
kidding.
you tell her all those things?
No, wait, but
I
then
never
I'm not
just-
sure if it's this scene or another scene, or maybe I'm just making this up. But like, doesn't she like? He's like, you gotta promise not to do anything. She's like, I promise, and then she walks out of the room, and you can see she's got her fingers crossed behind her back. Am I just like fake remembering that?
I don't remember that.
That sounds really familiar to me. I know that Lindsay Lohan in some movie she's in does cross her fingers behind her back.
She does that in Parent
So-
Trap, I know, but like this, I have a distinct memory of her like getting up and she's in her like early 2000s fit, and she's like, haha, psych.
Yeah, I'm gonna just sign off and say, yeah, that seems canon enough. So, one thing, I don't know why adults keep doing this in movies. Like, well, not really adult, but I was watching this episode of My Little Pony where the Cutie Mark Crusaders they want to get their teacher to date Apple Bloom's big brother, Big Macintosh, or Buck Macintosh. I don't remember.
What?
And
Big?
Twilight Sparkle.
Did you say Buck?
Big Macin?
It's Big Mac.
I don't know. Either way,
Sorry.
they want them to date. So Twilight Sparkle, she's walking and she has a book, and they're like, and she's like, oh, hey guys, this whole thing is based on a love potion. See this book? It even has the recipe. They're like, oh wow, can we have that book? And she's like, yeah, sure. Here you go. And then is like surprised when they put a love potion on like the town. I don't know why you gave them the recipe, Twilight Sparkle. Anyway, I just don't know why they do that all the time in movies. Like, help kids do this thing. You might as well, like, hand her a camera and
You might as well
money
just
to-
do it for her if you're going to explain it that much in detail.
Now, why is Lexi mean to her sister?
Because her sister's a nerd loser.
But, like, without her, she wouldn't know how to get all the illegal stuff she needs for her illegal investigation.
Speaking of illegal, can we talk about, like, the first, like, thing that they thought of doing? They're like, okay, so this maybe is jumping ahead a little bit, but they're like, okay,
That's fine.
we need to collect evidence. How are we going to figure this out? And then this boy named Gabe, who is like, I guess I'm part of the movie now. He's like, I live across the street from Miss Dawson. She's a person of interest.
He's also Radio Free Roscoe.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
So he's like, oh, she's a person of interest. Here's how we're going to collect evidence. We're going to put a camera outside of her apartment and we're going to film her without her knowledge or consent.
Yeah, that's how good reporters
gonna
slash
live stream
detectives do
it.
that.
Like, that's some dark web nonsense. That's not allowed. That's very bad and
They
not
don't know
okay.
any better. Technology was new. Spies were like super in at this point in time. And they were just kids. They didn't know anything.
Don't listen. Anybody listening who's thinking of being a super spy, don't film people without their knowledge or consent. That's not okay. It's mean and rude.
You know what's funny about
And
that,
illegal.
though? Is like,
Yeah.
I feel like
It's
just
mean
there are
and rude
lots
and
of...
illegal.
I feel like there are just lots of movies that don't care about the fact that you need consent to film people. Like, this is a coincidence, but I just finished watching Failure to Launch. It's a movie. This has nothing to do with the whole movie, but anyway, they end up breaking up because of a like misunderstanding thing, like they always do. Their friends get them together and lock them in one of the friends' rooms that is filled with security cameras, and then they go to like a Starbucks or something to watch the fight and like watch them work it out. But then other people sort of see them and start getting invested in this like love story or whatever, and they're like, oh, could you turn it up? So by the end of this, they're playing this on the restaurant's TVs for the whole coffee shop to watch. These two people who are locked in a room against their will and don't know they're being filmed.
What type of Saw side plot is this?
It's a romantic comedy.
That's not romantic. That's a crime.
No, that's the comedy part of the romantic comedy.
It's not funny, though.
It is if you add a laugh track.
Oh my God.
I take my
This
cues
is a
from
movie.
Friends.
There's no laugh track.
So, so Gabe and Brenda's song stay back to watch Miss Dawson. That's their job. Meanwhile, the mansplainer rich girl love story can bloom because Lexi and Jack, they do like the field investigating.
Can we just call him Alfalfa for the rest of the video?
Yeah, I'm down. So, they meet up, they go to look at his apartment, and they run into Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny. And he's like, I'm the FBI on the case, but British accent. And, like, I feel like even if I didn't like already see the movie, I would have thought he was majorly suspicious, right?
So this is not at all relevant to what we're talking about, but was I the only one who like saw this character and was like, oh my God, it's Richard Gere, and then I looked at him more and I'm like, that's not Richard Gere.
No. Yeah.
I got really excited. I was like, it's him, I love him. I'm like, oh, it's not him.
I feel like I do that frequently with a lot of actors. I think a lot of actors are Richard Gere until I do a second look.
Like, oh wait, it's him. No, it's not.
Never mind.
I didn't realize you were going to say specifically Richard Gere.
He kind of looks like him a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
No, he does. I can see that. I just watched a lot of The Nanny, so I knew.
I wish it was Richard Gere. Like, how old
So
would he have been?
I mean,
Not much older than he was.
it's not like he's
he'd be like
aged
10
a
years
whole
older
lot now.
than he was in Pretty Woman.
I mean, he's like only just started to look older like last year,
Yeah.
so like it's fine.
Yeah, he's been to the same age for like 20 years, so.
I've noticed a
It's
lot of
so-
actors like just now started looking old.
Right?
Like,
Yeah, it's really weird because I feel like there's like two types. Like there are some actors who feel like they've been around forever and they've just been old forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. But then there are some where it's just like, okay, you're just going to be 25 for the next 50 years. And then all of a sudden you're like 70. And it's like, okay.
yeah, like Jamie Lee Curtis, Freaky Friday, Card in the Corner. I'm like, yeah, she looks great. And then like a couple years ago, I'm like, when did your hair get gray? You still look great, but your hair is this color now? Interesting.
Like, yeah. So then they do some more super sleuthing. They get their facts together, and back to the little young love story. Jack has to show her how the poor boy lives, and Lindsay
This
Lohan
is how the 99% live.
and then she's like, "Oh my, I can't go on the subway."
Okay,
And-
this is assuming that like she has lived in New York her entire life, right?
Yeah.
She has
She
never
definitely
used
would
the
have taken
subway.
the subway.
She has
I
never
don't know.
she has never
Rich
been on the
people-
subway, been to Brooklyn, or seen a homeless person. I'm like, how do you live in New York and not do one of those three things in your entire life?
See, I feel like Blair from Gossip Girl did not. One, I don't think her mom would have let her. Two, I don't think she would have survived.
Okay, but Blair has definitely seen a homeless person and been to Brooklyn. Use the subway? Maybe not. If you live in New York or like you've been to New York, you have to like
Yeah.
do like one of the three or like two of the three. Been to New York once, seen a homeless person, been to Brooklyn. It was a time. They
Yeah.
didn't let us use the subway though because it was a school trip and they're like, we don't trust you to use the subway. Don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can barely work the Toronto subway system and it's not that hard. I'm just not that smart.
Yeah. But then she ends up meeting his family, and that goes like, "Aw, Jack, you're a person? I didn't realize."
He's like, here's my mom, who's a trauma nurse. She's exhausted all the time. Here's my brother. He's in the Navy. Here's my dead dad's picture. And she's like, oh my God, you live like this? I'm so sorry. And then he's
Yeah,
like,
it
here's
is
my
true.
massive... Sorry,
it's
go
not
ahead.
quite it's not quite trauma bingo, but it's similar to trauma bingo where he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's tired all the time, so I have to do a lot of the cooking and stuff. Oh, my brother, yeah, we used to live together, but now he's in the Navy. I miss him a lot. My dad,
Here's
he's
my-
dead.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about their room for a second? It's like, so they share a room, but like they have bunk beds. Like, just imagine being like 22 and sleeping in a bunk bed.
I'm on board with that, honestly.
I mean, like,
I
I'm
guess what
22
I'm
now,
thinking-
and just the idea of a bunk bed now terrifies me. So I'm like, what if I fall off the top bunk? That'd be
Oh
so
my gosh.
embarrassing.
And it would hurt.
Because I would.
They did that on Drake and Josh once. They switched beds, and then Josh fell off it. And then Drake was like, "You want to switch back?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You
So
guys
I'm just
gotta get
thinking
back
of
to
the-
the status quo."
I just remembered a time when, like, my youngest sister, this was a couple years ago, she came downstairs one morning with a black eye, and we're like, what happened? And she's like, I fell out of bed. Like a whole black eye. She's like, I hit my head. I fell out of bed. And we're like,
Oh.
how'd you do that?
Very
She's
carefully.
like, it just happened. I just thought that was really funny. I'm sorry I'm laughing at you, Ava.
To bring it back to how Jack is a sad boy, I feel like a bunk bed would be a constant reminder of just how lonely you are.
Right?
Right?
Top or bottom,
That's
nobody
gotta-
else is there.
Got us. When she like, Mom, can we like not have this bed as a constant reminder of my brother risking his life at sea?
So
And she's like, I'm too tired. I'm a trauma nurse.
So they do more super sleuthing
on his
and
big early 2000s white chunky computer.
Oh, what a good computer. So he... Oh, hold on. We missed an important thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They go to his house, right?
yeah,
to, like,
that's
see-
where they
Yeah,
meet
that's
Mom
how
and
he's
everything.
that's how they ran into the cop. Yeah, they break and enter.
But
Yeah,
they,
that's where they met Mr. Sheffield, or the nanny
So they
guy.
know-
Yeah.
they know... I want to point this out because it comes up later, and I feel like it should have come up earlier. He says, we'll go to his house. I know where he lives. Because I've been there before. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't say, why have you been there before?
What were you doing
But she's
there?
blown away about her teacher's canoodling. But
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
student,
she
she's
You're not
like-
suspicious
slacked on
about
the
this
job
young boy
there.
going to his teacher's house?
and he wasn't offering any explanation. So finally, after all of that, and now we're in the scene where they're doing some super sleuthing on his computer, he said, he says, I got this computer from Mr. Walker. Okay, that's how he knows where he lives, and that's why he had been to his house before.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why is that just now coming up? You
Yeah,
were
like
gonna
he could have
explain
been like,
that
oh,
earlier?
like he could have said literally anything and it would
Because
have like put some of our fears to rest, but he says nothing. So we're like, what are you doing at it? Like, it's a Disney movie, so they're not gonna go there. It's not Spotlight, it's not good journalism. But like the whole time you're like, I don't know, this is pretty weird. What are you doing?
Yeah, especially because like as it goes on, we find out that they definitely have like an intense mentor protege deal going on because Mr. Walker like helped him like keep his scholarship,
Right.
gave him this computer, like he's done like an awful lot for this boy. But like,
Have any of
Lexi's
your
super
teachers like
sleuth.
gone above and beyond for you like that?
No.
Not really.
Can't say. Like, I'll email some of my profs and be like, hey, how are you? And they're like, I'm good. And that's about it.
So
But-
they're super
but-
sleuthing. They meet up. They collect everything that they got, and it leads them to another house on another day of.
Hold on, we gotta talk about the technology in this.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we forgot about when they all go to the spy store.
Yes.
Do you think any of that spy technology actually, it definitely doesn't, but like in movie universe, do you think it works?
I mean,
Apparently.
I've seen it in like a few Lifetime movies, like stores like this, where it's just like, you want to spy on people? This is all we sell here.
Oh, this just unlocked a memory for me.
Yes.
Are you
Check
too
that off your
familiar
bingo
with
sheet.
Yeah. Are you too familiar with mystery diners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one it probably happens in a couple other episodes, but there's one episode where they're sitting in the sting room and they're like, oh no, the bad guy's gonna drive away with the secret recipe. And then Charles Styles, Mystery Diners, talks into his little microphone and he's like, I need you to disengage the engine. And then somebody's like, I'm on it. They open up a laptop, go like this on their laptop, they type a few things, hit enter, and then the engine breaks.
What?
They hacked a car.
Oh
What is
no.
this?
They hacked a car with a computer.
Is it Watch Dogs? What's happening?
Oh my god. Oh, my favorite thing about Watch Dogs is how the randomly generated people profiles, you could tell it's randomly generated because you'll get things that are like super contradictive. So it's like, this person's a blood donor, but they're also HIV positive.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh, somebody should have made sure that we don't have things like this in the game.
Or in real life?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't listen. I'm all for lifting the blood ban, but if you are HIV positive, don't donate blood. It is not good. That's my life lesson for today.
that's
Do lift the blood ban though on gays because that's discriminatory.
Yeah, that's
don't do
ridiculous.
that.
Come on.
Yeah. So you can only donate
Marco did
blood
a
if
whole
you haven't
episode
done
about
this.
it on Degrassi.
What about Degrassi?
Marco did a whole episode about that on Degrassi. They wouldn't let him.
We could talk
do a blood
about that
transfusion.
at some point. We could talk about just that essay. Jesus. I'm still in school mode, apparently.
Okay, so that technology, then
You sound exhausted just thinking about this movie.
So the next day of Super Sleuthing, Jack, Alfalfa, and Lindsay Lohan. I like that movie, just the adventures of Alfalfa and Lindsay Lohan as herself. Imagine he has like the cowlick going on and everything. Okay. So they end up at this house. And
Where
a woman answers the door. It turns, and then their teacher shows up and he tries to back out of the room.
And they go, Mr. Walker.
When they catch him, and they're like, Mr. Walker, and he's like, ugh. Yeah.
I was gonna mention how I could have sworn that there was Greek written on like some of the windows in that little community that they went to, but then like they're not using Greek names. So I'm like, are we in like a Greek community or are we in a Slavic community? Where are we?
A Slavic Greek community.
I love old Greek people. They're so nice.
We didn't talk about this, but at one point, we mentioned it. But at one point, Lexi is like, homeless man. The reason homeless man matters is because he is wearing Mr. Walker's jacket.
Okay, but that side plot goes nowhere.
Okay.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to that, because I have many feelings
It
on
matters
that.
for right now. We'll just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she's like, that ugly coat. It's really not that ugly.
It's just like,
it's one point of style, according to her.
it's just for warmth. So they do more super sleuthing, and Alfalfa and Lindsay Lohan are back on the field, and they end up at a house. And an older woman opens the door, and she's like, "Oh, hello!" And then in the back, they see a man walking in, and it is their teacher, Mr. Walker, who was pronounced missing / probably dead. And he just he almost for a second tried to dip out of the room.
He's like, it's me. Hey, what's up?
So if I'm Mr. Walker, are you taking any help from Lindsay Lohan?
No.
After she's the reason you're in hiding in the first place?
Doesn't he compliment her writing or something? He's like, you're a smart student or something like that.
I think, yeah, they're really nice. I'll get into when, I feel like,
to be fair, she does kind of apologize because he explains this whole thing. He's like, listen, there's some fraud and embezzlement charges against me, and I kind of had to dip. So now I'm living under a fake name. I did steal this person's identity, but we're not going to get into that. And then when you posted that story, when you sent that tweet, you kind of exposed me, and now I'm in a sticky situation. She's kind of apologized. She's like, oh my God, this is all my fault. I'm sorry. And he's like, you're 13. It's fine.
Hold on. He kind of does get into the identity theft thing. Well, kind of. He brushes it off. It's not a big deal. But he says, somebody just died when I moved here, so I took their identity.
I took his name. I'm like, that's not a good thing to do.
That is not okay. That's so problematic.
That's identity theft.
Because I get the whole, because it's okay. So here's what happened. I guess it's kind of confusing, but basically he worked for a big finance company, and they were going to hit it big, but then something happened. And he was going to get charged with, embezzlement?
Yeah. A bunch of money, upwards of like $10 million, I think. That might be a stretch, but a bunch of
Yeah, I
money
think it
goes
was.
missing out of this bank account. And he's like, oh my God, where's all the money? And then I think his boss is like, you did it. And he's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, I'm going to charge you with fraud and embezzlement. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to head out.
So he fakes his own death.
Yeah. Yeah, he straight up
Steals
fakes
someone
his-
else's identity. Has to fake his own death again because Lindsay Lohan ruins everything.
exposed him. Yeah.
I guess here's a question. Your son comes to you with this, like, Ma, I gotta change my name and I'm on the lam now. I'm gonna be a fake teacher at the school. Thoughts on your son? Are you just cool with that?
I guess I wouldn't be.
I'd be like, you fool, how did you manage to get yourself in this much trouble? But also, that's
feel
my
like-
son, so I probably feel bad a little bit.
Like, son, I love you, but like, this is such an extreme reaction that I kind of low-key feel like you're a little bit guilty.
Mom, I'm
So,
going to jail.
Hun, we can get a lawyer.
I like
You
this
got
role playing
10
that's going
I
on.
like how you're doing her accent.
Yes.
POV, you're getting charged with fraud and embezzlement, and you're trying to explain it to your mom.
We'll get a lawyer.
Get a lawyer, you stupid idiot. I didn't raise you this way.
You're making your mother cry, and that's me.
Think of your father.
Oh my
You're just
God.
like him.
I'm sorry to everybody who listened to that.
I'm sorry. This is like how most of my family talks, so hey.
So then they're like, okay, Mr. Walker, we believe you. Sounds legit. We're on the case, and I've got just the plan to solve everything.
We're gonna do a hotel heist, kind of.
Yes.
The fits in that scene, though, especially Brenda's songs with like her black and white pants and her platform boots and the crimped hair that is
Crimped
progressing
hair.
throughout the movie. I'm like, yes, turn out these looks.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Rogue, would you like to give us the rundown of just what this heist is and how it goes
This
down?
heist is insane. And they get her younger sister involved because she's the spy girl. She is the cool female hacker in this movie, is the little sister, and this is how they bond. So good for them, I guess.
Through
I like
hacking. It's
I like
just
the-
like tagged, but
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Except it's the little
Except-
sister instead of the older sister.
And nobody's self-harming.
Yes. And
Yep.
nobody's on drugs.
Yeah. Nobody's dating older
someone.
men.
Yeah.
It's just fraud and embezzlement.
You know,
Like the good old days.
the good old days of fraud and embezzlement.
Yeah.
So they have a fun little gearing up montage. One of my favorite type of scenes. They're all wearing black except for Brenda Song and Lindsay Lohan, who have like stylish
Pops of white.
pants. Yeah. That could only be described as 90s fashion pants.
Just Brenda songs with like the text on it and like the
Yes.
flares. Mwah, excellent.
So these teenagers dressed in all black go to this
These
fancy,
preteens.
this fancy as heck hotel with no parents. There's one adult with them, Mr. Walker. They have walkie-talkies essentially that are not Bluetooth because it's not wireless, but
In
connected.
2004.
They have a earpiece.
Wait, we forgot to explain how they figured out how to get to this hotel.
Oh.
Mr. Walker, like, he gets a note,
Oh, yes.
and he's like, oh, the rain smudged it, so I can't read it. So they take it back to Lexi's house, and they're like, hey, hacker sister, can you do some hacker stuff to figure out this? And
Do
she's
some
like, I'm on
chemistry
it.
on this.
Yeah, but her chemistry is like, I'm going to use black pepper and loose blush to show the text that melted away. And she does that by taking a remote, flicking it, and she makes the entire living room into like a blacklight studio. I'm like, how did your parents not see you changing the light bulbs or setting this up? She's like rigged up the whole house too. She's like, oh yeah, the doors open and close by my remote control. I'm like, don't you have homework to do? What are you doing?
She finished all of her homework.
Okay.
She's smart.
But yeah, just had to touch on that so we all know how we got to this point.
Yeah.
So they go into the hotel. Mr. Walker's on board with these children's plans for some reason. I guess faking your own death twice kind of clouds your judgment on what's a realistic.
He wanted to spice it up.
idea.
He's like, well, I can't fake my death a third time. That'd be silly.
So basically their plan, he's going to meet this mystery person who left the note there. Their plan is for them to hide behind plants and various furniture so that they can catch the person red-handed. I mean, there's more to the plan. I'll let Zax go into that in a second. But my biggest issue is that there are these kids all dressed in black in this fancy hotel.
With like these beiges and peaches and pastels.
And
Debbie
the hotel
pastels.
is full. And there's adults looking at them.
There's old women here to have their like tea and gossip. And they're looking at these kids like, what are you doing here?
What kind of sketchy nonsense are these kids up to?
Yeah, I think the biggest
And there's
example
4 of
of
them.
how much they stand out, though, is at one point, remember that homeless man we mentioned a while ago? So
He's back.
so Alfalfa and Lindsay Lohan are like on the run, and they stop in this conference room, and the homeless man is walking up. Now everybody is like shooing
Like,
and
ooh,
hissing at him
stinky.
practically, like, ew.
Because he's smelly, because he's homeless.
Yeah, they're like plugging their noses, literally. And then he goes on the stage and he takes off the jacket, he takes off the wig, and he's a handsome young congressman. And he's like, I
Oh,
was
no,
on the
he's
mean
hot.
streets. Nobody was nice to me.
Nobody liked
One
me.
man gave me this jacket, and that was it. And I was out there for 3 months, and everyone claps. And I'm like, okay, hun, one, what was the point of this? 2, what are you, like, to find out what? That being homeless sucks?
I think, like, okay,
We
like,
know.
it really doesn't take, like, a whole lot to understand the homeless crisis. You just have to look. You literally have to open your window, stick your head out, and be like, all right, who doesn't have a place to live? And you literally just have to look at it. You don't have to be like, oh, POV, I'm homeless and nobody likes me. You don't need to do that. And if this is like a congressman, he's like, oh, I now sympathize with them. Before I didn't. Before I thought they were a bunch of degenerate, stinky men. But now I feel bad because I relate to them now. What's that gonna do? How are you gonna fix this? Are you gonna put funding into homeless relief? Are you gonna provide more beds and shelters? What's your plan? Do you just want votes? I don't get it, sir.
But also, everyone was clapping. Like, you were just hissing at him. So are you at least going to get, like, at the very least, maybe was his point, like, let's be a little nicer to homeless people?
I get,
but, like, I don't think any of them are going to do that.
With the jacket thing, the jacket thing, he's like, this was the only bit of kindness anybody showed me for those, like, cold 3 months I was out there. I'm like, okay, what is that? What does that do for us? It's like, let's take off our clothes and give them to homeless people. Don't strip for homeless people. Don't do that.
Hashtag strip for homeless people.
No, don't. No, listen, if you're gonna do anything for homeless people, like, make little, like, kits where it's like, hey, here's like a toothbrush, toothpaste, some water, some feminine products,
a granola bar, socks.
Yeah, some snacks. Yeah, do that. Don't necessarily give them money because that, like, might not be exactly what they need depending on what they're spending that money on. Give them food, like, whatever. Don't take off your clothes and do that. Also, make sure you're doing it at an appropriate time, because some homeless people are just trying to take a nap on the street and they don't want you shoving products in their face. Just let them nap.
Or just like leave it and walk away.
Yeah. Don't wake them up and be like, I'm here to save you.
Just play
Don't do
Santa.
that. Yeah. Pretend to be Santa. POV, I'm Santa Claus.
I'm just thinking of those like charity prank channel people videos.
Don't do that either.
Don't film them.
Please.
Don't film people without their consent or
It's come
knowledge.
full circle.
One thing I will say that I was like kind of interested in, like, at one point I remember Sam Pepper was like trying to do something like serious with his channel, and like I haven't.
Was this
watched him in,
before
like,
or
years.
after the sexual assault accusations?
In the middle, in the midst.
Oh, that might be worse.
Like it was starting to come up, but people were like, I don't know, he's still my Sam Pepper.
So it was damage control.
But then, well, I don't know. It seemed like it was a little bit. Well, it hadn't gotten to me yet at this point. That's so. I don't know. Take that how you will. But anyway, he did this thing where like he just interviewed a homeless person and like he just gave like let the man like just tell his story and then was like, you know, like you never know what someone's been through, so let's spread some love. And then he was like, and like maybe I could like interview other people, get to know them. But he instead decided to go with this prank war, and he could have been the first Anthony Padilla. So like missed opportunities is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but do we really
Sorry,
want
Sam
to?
Pepper.
Don't, Zax, do not apologize to Sam Pepper. He is the last person who deserves it.
I would say sarcastic. Apology.
Don't apologize to him. He sucks.
So like back to the movie.
Yeah, okay, before we move on from the homeless subplot, okay, this is a decom.
Yeah.
What plot relevance does that homeless subplot add to
It
the
doesn't
overall
have
movie?
Any.
It's just
think
there.
It was only
I
there
think-
so that she could see the homeless man in the jacket, and then to explain why he had the jacket. That's
and
it.
like, because we were talking about this earlier, like, once it's confirmed that Mr. Walker faked his death, we can just assume he ditched the jacket.
As
And
part,
this
like,
homeless
where he's
person
like, oh,
he
found
drove
we
his
could-
car into a lake. I don't think it's so far
All
fetched
that was
he
left
just,
of
like,
him was
took
this
off his
jacket. That's what you could have done, but it's like, I'm gonna give it to a homeless man, and then he could give a nice speech about how he's not really stinky and homeless.
They just had to
how he's
show-
really rich.
I think they were also trying to play to Mr. Walker's character because, you know, like,
He did steal someone's identity.
he is
Yeah.
he was accused of embezzling money. The only thing he really did wrong was steal a dead man's identity, I guess.
He also
Yeah.
broke up with his girlfriend in a really nasty way, at her job.
I mean, to be fair, he needed to protect her. He couldn't have her following him or loving him. He needed her to just hate him. So he did the brave thing and broke her heart to bits and then faked his death.
But then she had to go back to work. I'm gonna paint you a picture, okay? I'm at work. I'm in the pool with children. And my boyfriend comes in. He rolls up all the way from where he lives. And he's like, hey, Carina, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? I'm breaking up with you. I hate you and you're stupid. Bye. And then I have to go back to work with the children.
Today
That's what he did to her.
Today we're gonna do some sad strokes, children.
Okay, everyone, I'm gonna teach you how to float. Miss Carina, why are you crying? I'm not. I just went under the water.
It's just water.
It's just my face is wet because I was blowing bubbles. See? I'm stupid and no one loves me.
Oh gosh, I don't want to learn how to swim anymore.
I don't like my teacher. She's sad.
Okay, so now back to this heist and stuff. I get a little confused on how this all plays out and how it works. But the next big point I remember is Miss Dawson is tied up.
Oh my god.
In a locker room.
I always found that scene really unsettling when I was younger. I don't know if it was just like the face mask she had on and like how she was like a little bit sweaty at the same time. But
She was uncomfortable. She was in distress.
it just like it gave me this like really upset, like I can't describe the feel, like very
It's like
distressed when
anxiety.
it was very anxiety inducing when I was younger, and this movie put me back there. Like a real genuine fear. I'm like, I don't know why I'm scared, but I am.
So she finds her and she's just like, okay, Miss Dawson, actually though, I need you to stay here.
And she sticks her, like, she turns the water on. Could be cold
Doesn't she
water.
cover her mouth back up?
No, she just puts her back in.
Okay.
She like
That's
she
good,
unties
at
her and
least.
she's like, I need to hose you down. Sorry. Oh, okay. Why was she there though? She was like, oh, somebody like gave me this
Yeah.
nice exclusive spa package. Turns out it's just the basement. Wouldn't you notice though?
She got like an anonymous like ticket. What is it?
I don't get it. Wouldn't you know if somebody was leading you down into this like dank, stinky hotel basement? Wouldn't you be like, this is how human trafficking happens. Maybe I shouldn't come down here.
They did give her the facial though. Like she had like the face mask on and
They
stuff.
put a lush face mask on her, put her in a bathrobe and said, that'll do it. And then they tied her up.
So they start running around a bit more, and like, what was Gabe and Brenda Song's job even?
To go look for someone. Oh, in the middle of this, I wrote down my favorite line of this whole movie. Mr. Walker's mom, who's just there. There's also, I don't know why they did this, I guess to throw us off even more, but like every character in the movie shows up.
Yeah. So
In the lobby.
as they're waiting there to see who is going to walk up to him from this anonymous note, and every single character that we've seen before, I think they're
Like her
trying to do like it's a mystery. This teacher that we didn't mention earlier, whose name is Mrs. Stern, that's her name, right?
He's also like works on the newspaper, yeah?
Their like newspaper teacher is there. Miss Stern is there. Lexi's dad is there. Mr. Walker's mom is there. Someone else.
Every time a new character walks in, they name them, and then they're like, "It's them," and then it's not.
Wait, it's them. But Mr. Walker's mom is there, and she's like just kind of wandering around for a little bit because she's an old woman, and she eventually like she gets to like the hotel's like food place. And she sits down and like a waiter comes up. He's like, oh, what can I get you? She's like, get me a cold one, Garson.
Garson.
Garson. Oh my god. Oh, favorite character. She's like she's straight up like, yeah, I'm gonna crack open a cold one with the boys. Keep them coming. Best character in the movie, her. She should have been in it more.
So oh my god, when I was watching this like a few months back before we even talked about Lindsay Lohan Month, I took a snap of one of the scenes with her with her and Mr. Walker just like sitting there, and he was like, Ma, she was like, I just want you to get married.
I want
And I
some
was-
grandkids.
Oh my gosh, she was a delight.
Oh, she's so good.
We do a lot more crazy running and espionage, and then like we all meet in the lobby.
Wait, we forgot
which
about
gave me-
the basement scene where she gets
Okay.
locked up by accident.
Oh, okay. What happened?
Okay, so they're running around like the boiler room. It's very like Titanic. It's not. But like so we find out that whatever his name is, the guy I thought was Richard Gere, it's him. He was the one who did all of it. He's like,
Granville.
I set you up. Yeah. He's like, I set you up years ago. And Mr. Walker's like, but why would you do it? And he gives some nonsense reason.
Wasn't
He's like,
that his boss, the one that accused him, right?
Yeah, it was his
Okay.
boss. He's like, you were too good. It was bad. No, I don't know why I'm giving him that voice. He's English. You were too good. I don't even remember the reason because this all happens within the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Well,
so
because
I'm
he
like,
embezzled the money, right?
yeah, he embezzled the money and then was like, I'm gonna do something else with it. I don't know. I'm gonna blow $10 million in 48 hours. Watch.
Yeah, I guess the plan was just to, like, in case he gets caught, he was going to stick it in Mr. Walker's account, but then get it back after, but then he didn't get the chance.
The embezzlement plot line seems like it was written by 13-year-olds because it doesn't make sense and it's hard to follow. I think they had the 13-year-old cast members. They're like, okay, we want to make this like an interactive filming experience. So you guys write this. And they're like, we don't know what embezzlement is. I've never even heard that word before.
It's when you take money from someplace and you put it somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what happened. Anyway, so embezzlement. So it's his boss who's now a detective, but he's faking being a detective. So they're running around the hotel trying to catch him, and they go into like the sub basement. I think that's what you call it. So there's all these pipes, and they're spewing out hot air, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's hot air! It's gonna burn us or something." And Lindsay Lohan, because she's a fashion superstar, her bracelet gets stuck on one of the pipes somehow. And she's like, oh my god, the hot air is going to blow me. Explaining this is like, I'm watching the scene back in my head and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So she's like, oh my god, my charm bracelet is stuck in the pipe and it's going to blow hot air on me. And then Alfalfa's like, I'm going to save you, don't worry. And so he gets like these massive shears or something, cuts her bracelet.
Just like Titanic.
Just like Titanic, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, Rose, practice over there. She hits it the first time. He's like, do it again. And then she misses. He's like, that's enough practice.
And then she closes her eyes when she swings the axe.
Yeah,
that's my favorite
we should talk
part.
about Titanic.
Please.
It'll be a 5 hours, a 5-hour video.
Oh, no.
But we'll talk about that.
I mean, I don't know how much I'll have to add. I just hate Rose.
Really?
And, like,
Doesn't
I don't know
everybody?
who-
Oh,
I didn't hate her. I thought she was okay.
What?
I didn't like her.
Okay, well, that's our video. We got our gimmick right there. Okay,
It's just
moving
Carina
on.
defending Rose for 2 hours.
Like, I'm
yes,
actually
she's
a
the
little bit-
1%, but also she's real pretty and I like her.
Okay, well,
So
we'll
so
save
it's
that
just
for
like a
that, I
crush thing.
guess.
yeah. I'm like, is she a great character? I guess not. But oh, she's real pretty. I like looking at her.
It's just, okay, well.
Back to baby Titanic. So he saves her and she's like, oh my god, you saved me. And he's like, haha, yeah, I did. I don't know why I'm giving these like aha voices for this. She's like, oh my god, you saved me. And then she gives him a little kiss on the cheek because it's a decom and we don't want to be scandalous. Then they're like, let's go find him. And then they run off screen. And that's the scene.
So,
Yeah, I also thought it was a weird time to kiss him on the cheek. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you have things to do?
Yeah.
you know,
But I
movies
thought this
never
was-
care about the bigger issues at hand.
I loved
If,
this scene
like,
when I was little. I was like, ooh, yes. Good.
Spicy.
That's good stuff.
So then, like, you know, a little bit more hijinks. I think we get like we've been having like a fun chase scene in between all of this, kind of. But like,
And
it
then-
ends with everybody in the lobby, sweet life in Zack and Cody style. And
Miss Dawson like comes down the stairs. She's got her bathrobe on, so it's a little scandalous. She runs into his arms. She's like, "Oh my god, what's his Orlando? His name is
Yes.
Orlando Walker.
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
That's a fun name." Okay.
Yeah.
But she's like, Orlando, it's you. And he's like, it's me. And they have a nice little romantic moment. Meanwhile, not Richard Gere is like, haha, I'm going to run away. And then a wedding cake comes out. And whenever a wedding cake comes out in a movie and it's not involving a wedding, you know how it's going to end.
Yeah, so it covers Mr. Sheffield's face.
No, it
and-
doesn't cover it. He like trips and then the cake falls on him. And it's like, oh no, someone's wedding got ruined.
He's not like, I thought he was like covered in cake when they get him.
Yeah, it's the people carrying the cake that trip. And then the cake flies through the air in slow motion, and he's like, "Oh man,
Rams. But then okay, so like she does like the whole big Sherlock Murder She Wrote big end reveal deal where she's like but a lot of stuff we don't know. But then they're like, okay, where's the money?
Oh, wait, before that, as she's going through, like, so she's summarizing why all the characters are here. She's like, oh, these two characters are here for this reason. Like, the two teachers who were, like, there, turns out that they were trying to pursue the other two teachers, so like Mr. Walker and Miss Dawson. They were trying to like, hey, but then they got rejected. So then they're like, hey, did he reject you? Yeah. Did she reject you? Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll hook up. I don't see any problem with this. So I'm like, okay, they do look cute together. I'll give them that. I'm like, okay, I see this couple working out. And so she goes, sorry, go ahead.
I just, for workplace romance, I think that's a fine time to pair the spares.
Yeah.
I'll allow it, but it did seem really random. Like, you could just also end the movie single.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You don't need to be with
care about
But
somebody.
then
any
they
of it.
wouldn't be happy because Miss
Yeah.
Stern was
Is a stern
all-
woman.
she was pissed at. Sorry, I don't know if that's allowed on this channel. She was
No,
upset
say
with. She was upset with Miss Dawson the whole movie because she had her crush, and
Going to Orlando.
so if she had ended up single, she still would have been mad and not happy in the end. And it
Yeah,
had
and
to
if-
turn out happy.
Women cannot be happy unless they're in a relationship.
Well,
That's fair.
I mean, especially if somebody that they want to be in a relationship with is in a relationship with someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing I wanted to talk about like this exchange particularly is as she's going through everybody, like the dad character shows up and she's like, "Ugh, and my dad. Wait, Dad, what are you doing here?" And then the scene like continues.
She broke her inner monologue.
Oh my god.
Like, which is also interesting because like most times when it's like a story like this with like narration throughout and stuff, it's like this is the article she's writing or
Right.
like a story she's telling people after the fact. So like I just picture her like going through this and then little ones, my dad. Wait, dad?
Yeah.
Like,
But like her inner monologue happens throughout the movie and it's like her inner thoughts. Like she'll have like the scene will happen and then she'll be like, ugh, those shoes, trash, that jacket, trash. And then like the scene continues on. So it's a narrative tool that they use throughout the movie. It's not like bad movies where it's like, we're going to have narration at the beginning and the end and
At
that's
the
it.
end. Yep.
Yeah. This like it was used throughout, so it makes sense, but just the way it's delivered is so funny.
yeah, I think especially like the Twilight movies, I feel were like kind of bad about that. Like in the first one, it's like just in the beginning and end,
Mhm.
and it's like weird. And the other ones, she gets like maybe like two. It's just like moments that like they wanted to use the exact text from the book. So they just had her narrate, but it's just like long stretches where she doesn't. So it's just like
We're gonna
Like,
have
God.
lots to say about Twilight when we eventually do the whole series. That'll
Oh my
happen. Don't you worry, tiddlywinks.
one day. So then the cop guy comes
And
and
he
he
has no
doesn't have a mustache. And we're like, oh yeah, right on. You don't have it anymore.
It's real. It's not CGI'd out.
Oh yeah.
Just saying. Warner Brothers, I have some words for you. What were you thinking?
But then like the big question is like, okay, Lexi, since you have it all figured out, but where'd the money go?
Oh, this part.
And
Oh,
then
good gosh.
she's like, Mr. Walker's mom, take off your brooch. And then
Oh, this old thing? Oh, you'll never believe how I found it.
and it turns out that because we throughout the movie we've been getting a few flashbacks to this whole thing going down between Mr. Walker and British fake
Richard Baker.
Whoever. Then, but it turns out the mom and Mr. Walker had plans for lunch, and she saw a brown bag on the floor, and she picked it up, and she found this beautiful bee brooch. By the way, here's something. My mom had a brooch that looked a little bit like it. Hers was a bee, and I used to always sneak into her room and wear it, so I could be like, get a clue.
Oh my god.
You're like, I bet this is worth $10 million. Yeah.
His little baby Zach's like, where'd you get that from?
My mom's an embezzler.
Oh no! My mom did tax fraud.
So then, she finds this bag on the floor, and she goes to her son like, "You'll never believe what I found." And they ask around, "Does anybody want this brooch thing?" No? Okay, it's mine
she
now.
She straight up said finders keepers and kept it for 20 years.
And she's like, "Oh, I love it. I never take it off." And then Lexi uses her superior rich girl knowledge to be like, "This is estimated at about, I'd say, $10 million.
And everyone's like, "Oh, he's fine." He was about to get arrested. He was like, the detective comes along. He's like, "I gotta arrest him too." Everyone's like, "But why? He's such a nice guy." And he's like, "Yeah, but like, he still has fraud and embezzlement charges attached to his name. Also, he's been evading the law for 20 years. Also, he did identity theft. Also, he sent the police on a wild goose chase for at least a week. What else has he done that's probably not okay?"
Yeah.
He's got a long rap sheet, basically.
Yeah. But, like, they solved the mystery.
I guess.
So
and they saved Mr. Walker.
Yay.
From
this
jail.
movie gives us kind of a lot of falling action, sort of. So, like, basically what happens is Lexi is sitting on a bench.
Just hanging
and Ms.
out.
Dawson is like, "Oh, hello, dear. Mind if I join you?"
Where are they in this scene, by the way?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like the school. It looks like a random park.
Are they in Central Park?
Maybe? I don't. So
They're
then,
can I just say, I'm pretty sure this movie was filmed in Canada.
Really? You know what? Now that
Yeah.
I think about it, there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, that's just Bay Street. I'm like, this is straight up Yonge and Dundas. I go to school like a block away. What the heck is going on?
So then Miss Dawson is like, "Look, your article on this big heist made the paper, and Mr. Walker got out of jail in 2 days, and his name is completely cleared. By the way, I have to go meet him now because he Oh, wait, before she says that, she's like, "Would you like to speak at career day?" Then Lexi doesn't really answer, and then because the teacher was like, "So do you want to go as a detective or as a journalist?" "Well, my dad says they're kind of the same thing. Hey, maybe he could speak at career day." And I was like, "Bro, she invited you, and you were just like, not my thing, but like my dad's lame enough to do it,
She's
I
like,
guess."
She says, "I haven't really decided if I want to be a reporter or a designer." So.
Yeah. So then Miss Dawson gets up and she's like, "Okay, good talk, I guess. So I'm gonna go. Mr. Walker says he wants to ask me something." And then Lindsay Lohan, is like,
"Oh my god."
Whoa. She has like a "That's So Raven" whoosh. Yeah. And then we cut to a wedding.
Oh my god, they got married.
That's what he wanted to ask her.
Oh my god.
If she wanted to have a wedding with him.
And so as they're leaving, and first everyone's having a laugh because "Oh, the mom's joining them on the honeymoon too."
And she's chasing after them like, "I'm gonna have grandchildren."
But then one thing I thought was kind of funny, they do all their final words, Roscoe is like, "Hey, Lindsay Lohan, you always have the scoop. What's next?" And so she takes his camera, and I remember just thinking she was holding it in a weird way. And at one point, she's just filming the floor and holding on it for a second before she hands it back to him. And I was like, you ruined. He felt a lot more work to do. You like ruined his shot. First of all, like you shouldn't have. I don't know why you held the camera at all, because he was pointing it at you. He had it where he wanted it, and he was asking you a question. But you take it, and then you answer his question, and then like toss it back.
I guess this is before vlogs.
People didn't know how to film back in the day.
Well, okay, but he was doing it for you. Don't get involved. So, okay. But then the last, like, note I noticed was that, like, Brenda's song is just like, oh, look, there are two girls. I'm going to talk to them. And then, like, Roscoe just dips out because we need Alfalfa and Lindsay Lohan to get their final talk together. And then she gave him a gift.
Bowling shoes, because he mentioned once that he likes bowling.
And she was like, ew, you have to wear other people's shoes.
And he's like, yeah, but don't worry, we get to wear our own socks and underwear if you're a good bowler, which was, I think, a good little clapback for Alfalfa. Yeah. Good for him.
I mean, he doesn't quit with the clapbacks in this movie. He's not having any of her nonsense.
Yeah.
But, like, is it me, or is it kind of weird to give someone a gift at someone else's wedding?
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, but so then they're going, and then
kids.
like,
yeah, they don't have manners.
They're not going to have a wedding for a while.
You're rich, though, Lindsay Lohan. This is like with Endless Love. Your bra straps wouldn't be showing. Also, your parents taught you better than to bring a gift for someone else to someone else's
You
wedding.
know what? To be fair, we didn't see the
left.
wedding that we didn't see the present that she gave them. She probably like got them paid vacation for their honeymoon. She's definitely she's the reason why they're going on a honeymoon. She paid for it, all expenses.
Yeah, they're both teachers. Like, come on.
so I can get a date if I want to at your wedding with bowling shoes.
Oh, just real quick, this isn't related, but just because we're talking about this, how do we feel about when people propose to other people at someone else's wedding?
Oh, bad.
Is that a thing?
Bad.
Yeah.
That is a thing. It happens.
I hate that.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's
Why
like,
is that
it's
a
our
thing?
wedding. Oh, but I'm going to propose to my girlfriend of 3 months. It's like, no, this is
hurts
our
me.
dream wedding, and you ruined it.
Like, I mean, honestly, if it's someone's big day, don't bring up anything that could potentially steal the thunder.
I mean, you're
like,
not
I've
even
heard
supposed to wear white because the bride is the only one that's supposed to be in white. I don't know why you would think that proposing would be okay.
I saw a tweet that like summarizes my thoughts on this pretty well. It was like, if you propose to your partner at my wedding, expect for me to announce my pregnancy at your birth and to die at your funeral.
like, I mean, because that's the thing too. Like, I've also seen like there's a time and a place. Right now, this day is for Mr. Walker and Mrs. Dawson. That's them. I'm just using them as a fake wedding. But like, don't bring up your proposal. Don't bring up your pregnancy. Don't bring up your
Divorce.
new job. Yeah, don't bring. Well.
What?
Yeah, don't bring up your divorce because that'll kill the mood too. I was thinking maybe because that's bad news, but no, that's still people are going to feel sorry for you.
Yeah, bad news doesn't help either. It's a happy day.
Yeah, just leave your anything at the door and only bring in your love for those people.
This is another
That's
PSA
the
from
rule.
us.
Yeah. Zax, why'd you say their fake wedding? Did the actors not really get married in the movie?
And Santa Claus ain't real.
Oh no.
Oh, you're breaking all the hearts.
Oh, another tweet I saw. I'm not gonna say what it is because demonetized, but it was like, just found out the actors and don't really love each other. We can all fill in the blanks as to what is. This is a good Christian family channel.
Dax doesn't know. Don't tell her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's okay. I've been trying to think of it, but I don't know. Anyway, I guess to wrap it up, I will just say that the closing lines of the movie is Lindsay telling Brenda Song, "Get with the planet.
Get a
Our feet
clue."
aren't that elite."
The movie ends with Brenda's song complaining.
So, all in all, Get a Clue is a roller coaster, but it's a very fun one.
It's a
and if you
great
have
movie.
Disney Plus, you need to go watch it.
Watch it
'Cause
right
you
now.
won't- Yeah,
Stop
You
watching
doing
this video.
homework?
Go watch
stop
it.
that. Yeah, gonna make some dinner. Stop that.
We're like, you should eat. You haven't eaten all day. Put the movie on and like have it as background sound. But like, go eat your dinner.
Stop that.
No.
Okay.
I'm done for brothers.
Drink some
Knock it
water.
off.
Eat your dinner. Go to bed on time. But watch Get a Clue.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for talking about Get a Clue with me. It's always been fun. And remember, oh wait, no. Yeah. And thank you guys for listening. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends. Okay. Bye.
Bye.